These god-awful crocheted bridesmaid dresses and Aunt Linda's sketchy German potato salad have never been revealed to the public until now.
I don't care how much butter you churn. Just stay downwind from me at the Wawa. Gewalt.
The Hello Kitty bomb.
Yep.
Just enough for one building implosion and only a smidge of radiation that gives you an itch and maybe a nice tan.
SPF 192 sunscreen not included. You're staying away, so I ask you, where you been, baby? I used to love going to the Kunstkammer room. I got kicked out because I made a joke about their eggplant parmesan. No, she never got over it.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, the final episode for 2023 of the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast.
Yes, and I will apologize. I sound a little husky. I've had a little tiny cold, but I refuse to run out and get a COVID test because I feel like if you have COVID, you have to stay home. But if you have a regular virus, you can just infect everyone with it, right? Why is that okay? You're sick, stay home.
This week's sponsor is Grave Bubble Seltzer. Screw you, Liquid Death.
God, they want so much for that stuff. It's like double the price. It's all the same.
So people will think you're drinking a beer at 10 a.m. Whatever.
It's just cooler. I don't know.
Anyway.
Pay a lot for skulls. We certainly do.
This is going to be a good show. We're going to go through our top 10 of Stacy's top 10 and my top 10. We're going to do a Wax of Contrition on the #1 album of the year. And there's going to be lots of wild surprises, and we're going to talk about what our favorite shows were this year too. So lots of wrap-ups to be done here.
You know, we were just talking about it right before the show. We saw a lot more Decay bands than we did rock and roll this year.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, and I was having trouble remembering who played with who because we went to a lot of festivals and stuff.
And also we saw a couple bands more than once. So
yeah. But I do remember the cheap drink prices at the Metro. Yay, shout out to the Metro. So, all right, I got a little story for you. At a prior job, we went to go visit. We wanted to get a logistics contract with this company in PA. We wanted to get their business. They were a beef jerky company. And it turned out it was run by an Amish family. Okay. So when we got there, the smell of the beef jerky was making us delirious. It just smelled so good. And it was not uncommon when we would visit companies in like Philly, Jersey, whatever, that they would be like, oh, here's a sample of our product.
Which is normal,
pretty normal,
typical,
right? Yeah.
Build rapport and do.
We were drooling for this shit, right? And they didn't give us a goddamn lick of their beef jerky. So we decided on the way home from Lancaster that we hated the Amish. Stingy bastards. So I remember saying things like, just because we're all going to hell and they're not, doesn't give them the right to be snooty.
In fact, they should be nicer.
You're pretty fancy there, aren't you, with those suspenders, Elam? Well, you wouldn't have to fight off the horseflies if you took a bath more than once a week. I don't care how much butter you churn. Just stay downwind from me at the Wawa. Gewalt. You smell like the zoo. We used to mess with this one guy. See, because we had this sales rep that would spend forever to get an account of an Amish family that shipped 3 times a year. It was not worth the time at all. So we had this one guy, I can't remember the name of the company, but in this Amish community, there was literally a pole with a phone. And that was where that was the only place you could use the phone. Everybody else lived throughout this community. And we used to mess with this one customer. We kind of wanted him to go away. So he would call to book a shipment, and we would just keep making up shit that we needed to know because we knew that he'd have to keep going a mile back to his house to find out. So every time he'd call, we'd say something like, well, what's the weight in grams? What's the thickness of the corrugated box? How many stave joints does this barrel have? What's your weight in packing peanuts? So, and he'd be like, we were hoping so much. He'd be like, I don't have this problem when I call the other companies. And we'd be like, call the other companies. But he never did. He was such a cheap bastard. Anyway, that was fun. Messing with the Amish,
But like messing with Sasquatch?
We used to joke around we were going to sneak into an Amish settlement. with a tablet and get all the moms hooked on Facebook.
Probably be pretty easy.
Look at these apples Jebediah just picked. Recipe secrets from the real Mennonites of Lancaster County.
Love that show.
Yeah. Facebook friends. I'm wearing the coat with the fancy buttons. Don't tell Abraham about my vanity or he'll make me shuck a truckload of corn or something. Yeah,
That the Hail Mary for that?
I guess so. That's the penance. Yeah. In other news, you may be wondering, I'm sure you're wondering, why is there a parade behind us? You know how we feel about parades. Well, why don't you explain it?
So we've been watching this true crime series. It's from actually several years ago, but it's called American Monster. It's pretty typical living with a serial killer type stories, but there's a couple of interesting nuances to the show.
I'm hooked on it, of course. Yeah.
They love to dredge up home movies of this family that's going to have some kind of horrible tragedy down the road.
Yeah.
But they like to emphasize the phrase when they show the home movies. This footage has never been seen before. And most of the families live in remote parts of Idaho, South Dakota. There's a lot of 35mm clips from 80s hick weddings and PTA meetings, forays on tire swings, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A woman in a paisley dress standing behind a podium talking about nutrition tips in 1981. Scintillating small town parade with the march band not even playing, marching without any enthusiasm.
So every time we watch it, one of us says, footage of this crappy parade where half the people fell asleep and didn't want to be there has never been seen until now.
Captured on camera, the 4 baton misses of Billy Sue.
Exactly. This shot of Billy Stilko's yellow armpit stains have never been seen by the general public until now.
These god-awful crocheted bridesmaid dresses and Aunt Linda's sketchy German potato salad have never been revealed to the public until now.
It's such an amazing combination of crappy, hicky home movies. Like, remember the one where the wedding where all the men are wearing short sleeve white shirts? Like they all just came from the accountancy parade.
And
oh my gosh.
It was in the 90s, but she was still doing the, in lieu of the veil, the big sun hat on her bride's dress. Woo!
Yeah. But this crucial low quality footage of Buzz McClintock's drunken 1983 retirement party at the Ponderosa has never been seen by anyone until today, including the family who didn't give a shit. Right?
And probably should never have been.
Right. This is great.
I was starting to wonder, like, if every family with a murder in it, do they also like to film everything? I don't remember filming all this stuff.
Why don't you introduce a feature interview?
Our feature interview this week is with the Massachusetts-based death metal band Exsanguination. We have an extensive chat with the entire band, and they tell us all about their formation and the recording of their latest album, Burial Rites. We touch on just about all things Boston, including the accuracy of Ben Affleck movies.
Very important.
And play a beastly version of blasphemy monikers, so stay tuned for that.
Okay, let's play a song. This is Exsanguination with Reborn in a Casket.
So good.
So we had a very lovely Christmas, but we had this little mini debate that erupted kind of over coffee. One of the kids got us a cool air fryer cookbook, and we've been kind of obsessed with it lately. But it became clear that one of us is anti-air fryer. It was clearly an oven purist. One is all you need. It's just another pointless appliance, blah, blah, blah. But what we like about it is the snack friendliness of it, as opposed to the meal preparedness of the oven. Just pop it in the air fryer sounds so much simpler than preheat to 375, like we're roasting a goose for the Walton family or something.
Yeah, those things heat up in like 2 minutes. They're ready to go. An oven takes upwards of 10.
Right. Plus,
I guess it's just, a mini oven type of thing.
We love our mini things.
The same way a toaster was the leading appliance and cause of fire in apartments and dorm rooms.
No, toaster ovens, you mean? Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh my God, yeah. And the little, we weren't allowed to have those little hot plates where you could keep warm something up. We weren't allowed to have those in the dorm room either.
In the pre-panini world, we went nuts for the non-stick sandwich press thingy. I probably wouldn't have gotten through college without that thing. It made crappy house bread and a slab of Velveeta into cheesy pockets of sheer heaven. When we felt really edgy, we'd sneak a little roast beef in the middle. It was so good, yeah. The cheese would usually ooze out the sides and have formed like a blackened tar-like crust on the sides of the thing, which is completely impossible to remove, but we didn't care. We just get another one for $12.
We had a thing like that too, and the problem was eventually the nonstick finish would kind of wear off after you clean
Yeah, you got to
it,
get rid of it then. Yeah.
and then it just becomes a stick finish, and you just end up with a ball of cheese slime
Yeah,
and
yeah.
some burnt breadcrumbs.
Yeah, as soon as that starts, it's time to run to. We got ours at Best Products. Remember Best?
Oh
That's
my God, yeah.
a great store. Yeah. So, but it seems like we love in modern times we love mini versions of appliances to make chores less tedious. I mean, the Dustbuster's main selling point. Why drag out that big old vacuum cleaner for a few cracker crumbs? I mean, I have a mini Sawzall. I love it. It's like you're not going to destroy the entire wall. You're just going to make a little cat door. Use this thing. So handy.
You know, why drag out the big, huge food processor when you can pull out the cup-sized handy chopper?
Yeah.
See, they even put it in the name.
Yeah.
Where is the handy mini crop chopper instead of the combine for the home garden harvester?
Why stop there? How about we come up with more micro solutions to macro problems? Even Snickers has a fun size. When you've got a small to medium sized building to demolish, who has time for the full mega crane? Try the sporty new Caterpillar Demo Dan mini ball when you need just a wee bit of total destruction.
How about a cute little mini nuke?
Oh, I like it.
The Hello Kitty bomb.
Yep.
Just enough for one building implosion and only a smidge of radiation that gives you an itch and maybe a nice tan.
SPF 192 sunscreen not included.
His computer.
It's computer.
You know, how about a mini road repaver that runs like a robo vacuum? You know, it just tools around fixing potholes as it finds them. No need to tie up traffic with a big steamroller.
That's a good one. I think you should go with it, Jenkins. Yeah.
Yeah.
You discovered this. I didn't know that they had it.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, why run the big dishwasher when maybe you're just out of steak knives or wine glasses and you don't want to wash the whole thing. You know, because that takes like 2 hours. So I checked Amazon, the mini countertop dishwasher. Yep, they do exist.
They also have this thing called a sink and a sponge. That works pretty good too. Yeah.
Well, I could
And a
see
dish rag. It's not bad either.
our
Not everything has to be a fucking appliance. You know.
the first house when the kids were little, when we moved in, it did not have a dishwasher. This was the dishwasher.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was one of the first things I did was actually get a dishwasher. But I guess I tell you, they're almost as expensive as a big size dishwasher, but maybe for pressed for
It's so
speed.
dumb. It's dumb. I'm sorry. I gotta call bullshit on that. Use a little elbow grease, people. Come on. What are we talking about? All right. It is now time. We have the envelopes. Hold up your envelope. The top
Envelopes,
tens
please.
of the year for Snaggletooth Decay. We will start with Stace.
And I will say this was so hard this year.
Yeah, it was.
There were so many bands I had on the list at first. If there was a close to a tie, and actually Exsanguination was almost in there, my default was to go to Spotify and look at number of listens on my list to try to narrow it down. So this was super hard. At any rate, here we go. Number 10. Had to go with Night Goat and Totem.
Car interview.
Number 9, Obituary, The Dying of Everything.
That was like the first release of the year,
I was
wasn't
so excited when I heard it. I couldn't wait to get back from my run to tell you.
it? You put out an album. Oh, by the way, there's going to be a new Inquisition album that's coming out in January. You put out an album in January. People will talk about it for like the first 3 months of the year. It's great. Anyway.
At number 8, I had to go with See You Next Tuesday and Distractions.
Go Postal Metal.
They just came out with another one.
It's too soon.
Relapses.
Oh God, I wonder
It-
wonder what that's about. Okay.
Number 7, I had to go with Suffocation, Hymns from the Apocrypha.
It sounds great. The new singer sounds great. He is obviously just totally lit a fire to that band. Great album, great show. Yeah.
Number 6, Necropanther, Betrayal.
Yes. And I should mention this now because we did discuss it during the Necropanther interview. We had a death this week.
Oh.
You may be surprised to hear that the Gandalf of metal,
It was sad, but not untimely.
Torben Ulrich, has shuffled on at the age of 95. The man who said, sounds like a guy shouting in an echo chamber. So to the gods of dispelling BS, they have taken him to Satan's fold. Yep.
Do you think they finally looked down and said, I think we should delete this.
Absolutely. They got to delete that. If I was your advisor or something. Anyway. Okay, so that's Necropanther number 6. Number 5.
Number 5. Could never look these guys. Crick Scrabs with Fire in the Fall.
And the most active Instagram band that we have encountered. They like everything.
Number 4. Black Braid with Black Braid 2.
Hell yeah.
Number 3. Hellripper, Warlocks, Grim, and Withered Hags.
Go back a few episodes and check out our interview with James. Turned out great. What a guy.
Number 2 for me had to go with Butcher Babies, Till the World is Blind. I had a lot of listens of that this year.
Yeah. And then number 1.
Number 1 for me was Incantation with Unholy Deification.
And not just because we had our picture taken with Uncle John either. Another great show.
All right, babe, you are up.
All right, we are up to Mark's top 10 of 2023. We're going to start with number 10 and an overlap between Stace and I. Obituary is Dying of Everything. Obituary was the best show I saw. They came out from an incredible set by Immolation and just destroyed the place. I mean, they are, as Alan Averill would say, they're fighting fit. Number 9, Grave Ripper. Seasons Screaming Death. We may or may not have an interview with them coming up. Could be. Number 8, the bonkers Crazy Prague of Dodheim's Guard and Black Medium Current. How weird can we get? Who knows? Number 7, my personal obsession, Thy Catafalque, Alfold. I will get Thomas on the show if I have to go kidnap him. Number 6, Death Pill from the Ukraine. We tried to get them on the show, but of course there's some things going on over in the Ukraine that are making it difficult, but we will continue to try. Number 5, Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean. I wore the shit out of this. Obsession Destruction. And they also had another EP that we just reviewed on the last show. Fucking phenomenal. And we don't know who they are at all. They're very anonymous.
They refuse. Even all their pictures are just blurry, shadowy outlines.
Now we're going to go into a section that I call UK Kick-Ass Bands. Number 4, Burner. It All Returns to Nothing. Just fantastic metalcore-inspired death metal. Love it. Number 3 is actually Black Braid 2, another overlap between Stace and I, and a great show. Now we get down to the last 2. This was really difficult for me. But I'm going to have to say that number 2 is The Bleeding Monocrator, another fantastic UK band. The guitar playing is just phenomenal. It was probably the album I listened to the most all year.
I think they were number 12 on my.
Fantastic. Yeah. Go get Monocrator. It's a great record. And that brings us to number 1. But before we talk about number 1, I wanted to talk a little bit about this record that I found down here. I guess we were partying the other night. Remember Jefferson Starship Jane? I still have this 45. Look at that. What a great song that is. My brother and I were talking about the late 70s. We used to get dragged over to our cousin's house. They were older than us. And they were always playing stuff like Air Supply and Loverboy. And how great it would have been if they pulled out a banger like Jane, you know. How's the song go? It's like, Jane, you're playing a game you never can win, baby. You're staying away, so I ask you, where you been, baby? Like a cat and a mouse, cat and a mouse. Oh, you know what? Fuck it. This is the last show of the year. Let's play Jane. First of all, the singer, Mickey Thomas, this was his first album with the band, right? And what a voice. This was the first, Grace Slick's not on this record, but he stayed with the band from then on. He was like the secret sauce. Incredible voice.
What a
When he
range.
just said, Jane, Jane, Jane. You're like, wow. I love the way the cowbell comes in for the guitar solo. What a great fucking song that is. If my cousins had played that, we might have enjoyed these parties. All they had were sweet pickles, not dill pickle. That sucked. Anyway.
Well, one cannot live on extreme metal alone.
No, but with that, I'm going to introduce my number 1 pick for the year. It's probably not going to come as a surprise to anyone. And we'll do the Wax of Contrition song. And I will show off this beautiful vinyl. Number 1 is Cannibal Corpse's amazing album, Chaos Horrific.
Where did you get that from?
Look at this beauty. They couldn't pack more into this thing. Gatefold, gorgeous, so Slayer-esque with the riffs. Let's play a song This is the #1 pick for Mark for 2023, Cannibal Corpse's Frenzied Feeding. Let's talk about Home Chef.
So our sponsor this week is Home Chef. They have expanded their products even further. Every time I go on there to pick our meals for the week, they have added so many different levels. You can get the traditional one that I seem to like, where they send you all the ingredients and you do all the chopping and cooking.
Mhm.
They have ones where they're express, where some things are kind of chopped ahead for you. Or they even have oven-ready entrees.
Okay.
So you can do a little of each if you know you're going to be busy one night. It's cheaper than takeout, guys. And everything comes right to your door. Everything you need except for a little olive oil and salt and pepper to taste.
Okay.
So use the link there. Get yourself over to Home Chef. You can pick however many meals you want. They ship to your door. If it's over $60 for free, FedEx comes right to you. You can even have little pies and desserts if you want. You can have as little or as much as you want.
We got a little pie that we didn't ask for this
Yeah,
week.
it's very weird.
I think they're trying to get us hooked on blueberry pie.
I may or may not have eaten the pie.
Like they never order desserts. Throw a pie in there. Let's get them hooked. Yeah. Okay, so I want to introduce the interview now. This was one of those classics again where the entire band look like they're very cold in the interview. But at any rate, it is Boston. It's Kevin, Brendan, Justin, and Dan from Exsanguination. Great interview. Great time had by all.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out their new record, my God, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Go check it out.
Absolutely. And there is quite a bit of Swedish death metal geeking out to be had. So take it away.
So going back to the beginning, how did you guys come together? And like, what were your backgrounds that brought you together to become Exsanguination?
They kind of go around one by one.
Yeah, one by one, like, I guess introduce yourselves to you.
Okay, you can go first. I'm Dan. I'm on guitar and vocals.
I'm Justin. I play guitar.
I'm Brendan. I'm the drummer.
Okay.
Kevin, I play bass.
All right. So how did you guys come to meet? Have you been in other bands together or how did it happen?
Brendan and I were in Beyond the Sixth Seal like 20 years ago. That's really the only band of any type of significance that I've played in. You know, it's actually done stuff that maybe people might have heard of. But we've all played in like, you know, the local, whatever local scene is, you know, in underground bands.
Yeah.
No one of any real note. So, except Dan. Dan was in 7 Day Curse for a long time.
Yeah, we're going back late '90s.
Okay.
And we all kind of started meeting each other in a rehearsal studio, kind of, you know how those go. Bands hanging out in the hallways and stuff like that. That's how we all kind of became friends. You know, I didn't know you guys knew Kevin, but I met Kevin through them. But I knew these two from, you know, the rehearsal spaces and stuff like that, and hanging out at shows and whatnot. And we definitely found out right away we were into a lot of the same music.
Right.
Yeah.
That, you know, there was some, like for me, some certain bands that I was kind of off on my own thing, and then it was kind of odd that you guys were coincidentally into some of them too. So that kind of brought us together.
Yeah, I really think you guys have a great sound. When I first heard you, I was like, this is a Swedish band. This is definitely Swedish.
That's a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, it was Necrophagist Entombed was my first thoughts. Yeah, definitely. Very, very cool. Yeah.
So I was so surprised. I was like, oh, Massachusetts. Of course, we've had other great things come out of New England, like School of Grind.
Scroll grind.
But what was kind of the first heavy music that you first got into, like when you started listening to it? Can you think of something that kind of was the gateway for you?
It's a hard question. We're all old.
Yeah, how far back you want to go?
Probably when I was a younger teenager, when I first started, a friend of mine got me into Slayer. That's probably Slayer was the band that got me into like extreme bands. Like before that, I listened to I had like a Black Sabbath record, CD, CD, like an old greatest hits that they put out 30 years ago, whatever. I had that, like an Iron Maiden thing I'd listen to, and then my friend had the Slayer record, and it was It was really good. It was Rain and Blood, of course.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong with that one.
I didn't know people could play that fast. So I was like,
Yeah.
really good.
I got with me. It's weird. This is such an odd answer, but when I was 11, I got into all this and I started playing guitar and stuff really quick. But for me, it was actually Aerosmith. But then what happened was at my age, huge gateway, and I can say this for a lot of people my age, is although I've become very disappointed in this band over the years, without a doubt, I can say for a lot of kids my age, when Metallica put out the one video during Injustice for All,
Yeah.
that was a lot of us had never seen like double bass and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, quickly I was getting into all this different thrash metal. And when the Black album came out, I was so excited because I wanted to hear the next thrash metal masterpiece. And instead I got into Sandman, which I'm not saying that stuff's bad, but I wanted the 10-minute like thrash metal
I
epics.
know. Yeah, I
You
know.
know, I was so young and getting into this, and that was a letdown. So then I gravitated more to like the Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, Nuclear Assault, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then eventually death metal.
I agree with your assessment.
No, I remember when they played at the Grammys. They played one at the Grammys. Remember, like when they ended one and just the quiet, because the people in tuxedos were like, "What was that?" Like,
right.
I'll never forget that. My parents were like, "Turn this shit off."
Yeah. Yeah, and little did I know I'd very quickly get into stuff that was even more extreme than that at that point I probably didn't even know existed yet. But and then it got into death metal and stuff like that, of course.
Yeah, I mean, and the Black album's really good. Like I can appreciate it now. The production's incredible on that album, But back then I had already heard like Altars of Madness and stuff. So I was like, fuck this. What the hell? It's not fast at all,
Yeah. I respect everything. I'll never say a band's bad, not even Metallica. I mean, they can do what they do. To me, it was just a total separate band. I wanted the thrash metal, epic songwriting. It was clearly over. And that was my disappointment.
Yeah, it was that. What did we used to say? We said for the Black album, they weren't our band anymore. They were everyone's band. That's what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like all the football players at school liked them and shit. And I was like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, that got a little weird from that. Yeah, I'm with you on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you think of the new album?
With the new Metallica,
I think that says it all. Right
I think you had the same reaction we did.
I haven't listened to it.
Yeah.
Reactions just from previous stuff that they put out recently, whatever the most recent stuff is.
I think we more or less know what it sounds like. Yeah. I heard one song, it's just like, yep, there they go trying again.
Yeah, it's not
good try, guys.
Yeah. I see some snippets on YouTube. That's about it.
My thing is like, which these new songs, what songs are you going to bump out of the live set for this shit? You know what I mean? We're not going to play Battery now. We're not going to play like what gets nixed so we can hear this new crap. That's always my bone of contention,
Right.
We're not going to hear Creeping Death because of this,
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, is there someone in the crowd that actually came to hear this song over any of the other stuff?
They're there. They exist.
Right. I don't money back because they didn't hear the new one.
A band like that can make new albums. They should just stop.
Agreed.
Just play old stuff.
I know. I hear
you. So anyway, back to you guys.
Yeah.
I love the album cover, which we actually have up behind us.
Yeah.
I love the coffin bearers and the dark.
I like it. Very Burzum. Very early Burzum. I like it. Yeah. Where did you guys get the artwork from? Like, is it a guy or like what? How'd you get the artwork?
It's a guy I just hooked up with on Instagram for the first thing we put out.
Yeah.
He had done some artwork for the previous album. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And that other one, he kind of just had hanging around. And I just told him I was interested in it because I kind of like it. It's simple. It's like, black metal type album.
Yeah, really like it.
Yeah. Minimalist.
Yeah, if you put it right next to Spectral Hymns, it's a real good juxtaposition because of the red and Spectral Hymns and the blue.
What about the name Exsanguination? Where did you guys come up with that? Because that's and there's two of you, right? Isn't there? There were two, both in
Massachusetts.
Was there?
At one point, I found like more than two. I think
I went on Encyclopedia Metallum and just put in Exsanguination. I didn't see any bands come up.
Right.
The time I did do it, and it didn't come back with anything. So I was like, all right, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
Well, I told him too, just make our audience bigger so we just like drowned out the other ones if they're out there. I didn't worry about it. That was my way.
Yeah, I don't
of-
understand what these bands that where they take a name that is already already listed. I don't understand that. Like now, it's not 1972 anymore. Like you can
Right.
verify
Right.
that
I
this
mean, we
name is
definitely
taken.
didn't know till long after we had started.
Yeah.
We did look, and we were like, I was too.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, there's no other
I
examination.
didn't see that they had anything,
Yeah.
recorded because they got like every band on there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I might want to look up something. It'll usually
Yeah.
come up, but I don't remember. So
You have to change all your social media to become the real Exsanguination.
yeah, like no, I'm not doing all that. I'll just leave it up and people
Well,
find
if
us
you
when they go.
If you look them up now, it says name change. So I guess they were the ones that went, fuck, and
Yeah.
you know,
They-
let's change
they-
your name.
That was my
It's,
plan. Not even to be sarcastic. Apparently they took the note. They got the message.
That's great. Yeah.
So the sound is similar. Was the writing process different or the same for spectral hymns and burial rites? Did you go about it the same way or was things different?
The second one was probably a little more thought put into it because burial rites had been like a combination of like the first demo we put together, and then we recorded four more songs that we were gonna put out for an EP. But then the label, I think it was their idea or our idea, just put it together. Put them both together on one, disc so people can get at it, as opposed to having them, two different things
Right.
to worry about. Just having them all together. The second time, it still wasn't more of a focused stuff like on my part. Like I write a lot of the riffs at my house, and then like I'll kind of like get a skeleton of like how I think they're gonna go, and I'll put the riffs in order, and I can lay down drums and everything in my house and all that stuff, and then I'll send it out, and they can tell me whether or not it's any good or not. And the stuff that these guys are into or more, have ideas for, they'll put their 2 cents in there, and that's how we typically put the songs together. I present the ideas, and then everyone kind of tells me what they think.
And it's not difficult because, like I said, we are all on the same page. I think, like music wise, so they're very quick conversations, very quick.
So everybody's it's usually unanimous. That's cool.
No fisticuffs.
No.
No,
No
just
one's trying to sneak an accordion in or
right.
anything like that.
For Dan, your vocal delivery is so distinctive and different. Is there anything that you have to do, like to warm up, to get ready for a performance? No?
No, I do not push hard at all. Most of
Really?
the volume's coming from the microphone.
Wow.
My throat hurts more talking to people over loud music after we're done playing. I always try to say, can we go out and talk to you all night, but can we go outside? That's what kills my voice. The funny thing about the vocals is that I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I know we're a death metal band, but to me, there's a lot of I hear a lot of black metal. Like it's in there somewhere in the
Yeah,
mix.
definitely.
Yeah.
So when they started writing the stuff, and I also compared it to other bands, specifically these two guys were in, I thought a more black metal thing would fit. But what's weird about it, I talked at the beginning of this interview when I said there were certain bands we were all into. One of the unifying bands, we were all huge into Dismember. I mean, one of my favorite bands of all time. I know I can speak for them. And what's weird is when I listen to us, there are moments where the vocals sound like Dismember vocals to me, which is weird because as much as I love that band, they're not in my mind when I'm doing those vocals. So it just goes to show how much of an impact your influence can have on you. Because there's moments this is Dismember, even though I wasn't trying to do Dismember vocals, I was thinking more black metal. And so yeah, I don't warm up or nothing. I just think there's not a lot of volume in what I do. It's all the volume's coming from the microphone. And my voice is hoarse now, and that's just from stuff going on that has nothing to do with music.
It's so funny that you bring up Dismember because I've had so many 5 drinks in arguments over whether Edge of Sanity is better than Dismember. Those two bands, who's better, and it depends on how many beers we've had.
The arguments I get in have nothing to do with the album. I'm forever defending that band. Like when people talk about this, Swedish death metal, I've noticed over the years, and that's why, like when I met these guys, even back then, I feel they've never gotten the respect they deserved, even to this day. I just don't think, you may disagree, but I think when people have the discussion of Swedish death metal, they are not the first band that comes up, and I think they should be one of the first. Carnage and Tomb Dismember. I even think, I remember when At the Gates was really exploding in the mid 90s, and even then I was defending, like, listen, there's other bands. It's not just At the Gates, so. And nothing against those other bands too. I just think, to me, Dismember, I mean, that is the sound right there of that.
And there's something going on with them too, because like an ever-flowing stream, like it's on Spotify, it's not on Spotify. It's on Spotify. It's so someone's arguing, that's always about fighting over songwriting credits or whatever, so that we can all not get paid by Spotify. Right. It's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, this stuff hasn't been available because they just got back on Nuclear Blast and they remastered their whole catalog. So now they're back up on Spotify.
Yeah, they're on now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just back because they're in between labels. And now they're back on Nuclear Blast.
If you want a quick, funny Dismember story, we all went to see them in Worcester years ago. And it was like, Justin laughs. He's like, Dan, it's the only time I ever saw you smile. You looked happy. We hung out with them, and just so you know, they were really just nice guys. And like, I was asking them the stupidest questions, man. I was asking them, like, in I think it was like one of the videos, Skinfather, one of them, I'm like, who made those Christmas lights of your logo and stuff? And he like was telling me where they got. So our friend made it, and they were really, really cool and just hanging out with us and talking. I mean, I was probably being obnoxious with the questions, but they were just really, right before they went up to play, like, hey, we'll see you up front and stuff. And we hugged them all when we were done. It was just great being such a fan and hanging out with those guys for the night. That was years ago.
That's great. Yeah.
Going back 18, 20 years ago. But yeah, we got to meet them, and they were really good guys.
See, that's the thing. Like, that's the glory of being a metal fan, is that no matter how old you get, that stuff never fades. Like, we're teenagers forever. You know what I mean? Just, it's these, like, those asking those questions and stuff like that. Like, I remember, like, when I met Ross from Immolation, I had like a whole bunch of questions like that. He was trying to sell merch and I wouldn't go away. And, it's just, you never grow up, it just keeps us. I don't think that fans of like the White Stripes are like that.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't think that they're as rabid as we are. I just don't.
Well, also, how often, I would say I've met more people that I'm a fan of than you would if you were into the bigger, like, mainstream bands.
Right. Right.
But a lot, open for these bands or whatever. That's, a rare thing in probably other music scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always great, when someone comes off stage, and if you want to say something, they're going to be right at their merch table. So I'll go buy a T-shirt, and figure something out so we can have a little conversation. So I love that about this genre.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah.
But I would definitely say your vocals have that blackened feel. And the second most distinctive thing is Brandon. His round snare punches are just wild. What's his typical drum kit set look up?
What did you say about my snare drum? You lost me.
It was good.
Oh, she likes it. Yeah.
She likes your snare pop.
Yeah.
She likes it. Yeah.
Oh,
and I was wondering, kind of what your drum kit set looks like.
Do you have the big gong like Neil Peart? You have the whole.
I actually would love that, but no, I don't.
That's the one.
Or the chimes. The guy from Hawkwind had like chimes all around the drum seat.
I am older. I might invest in one of those. I should do that.
There you go. All right. Yeah.
But I play a pretty basic kit. Like, I play like a 4-piece. My snare drum I think that's probably the nicest part of my drum kit. Like, I bought a new one a couple of years ago, and it's one of those like Bell brass ones that like, I don't know, it's well known, like, like Metallica uses it and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those. But I got it after recording in a recording studio, and this guy had like a million snare drums, and I thought that was the best one. But
cool.
Yeah.
I used to, back in the MySpace era, I used to email back and forth with Jack Endino, the producer, because he's just as crazy into music as I am. And I remember one day he sent me this message. He had gotten the Back in Black snare drum. and he was like holding it up, and I'm like, this is over MySpace. I'm like, turn it sideways, turn it this way. I want to see the back. This went on for like 25 minutes. My wife came in and went, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, get out of here, woman. Get out of here. This is the Back in Black snare drum.
It was not me.
It was all, the head was all smashed in and shit, but he somehow acquired it. So that's it doesn't get much geekier than that, you know?
And
Yeah.
Brandon, you have such speed. Tell me, did you have a jazz background?
Yeah.
No. I've played a bunch of different styles. Like I've played for I mean, at this point, like if you haven't gathered yet, we're kind of old now. So we've been playing for a long time. I've probably been playing like 25 years now. So like I have played jazz like occasionally, but never with a group of jazz folks. Like sometimes I'll mess around and stuff with my drum kit on my own, but I've mostly played rock and metal. But no, thank you for the compliment. I do my best. I just try to keep time. That's what I'm doing.
What's the most challenging stuff you've tried to play? I mean, is it Lombardo? Is it Banane? Like what is it, you know?
So I'd say my favorite metal drummer is definitely Lombardo.
Yeah.
I'd say. And I'll play I'll try to play Ghost of War from time to time. Like that's, beyond fun to play. I think he even says it's actually like his favorite song to play. But beyond that, I actually love a lot of different non-metal drummers. Like I love like the guy from The Police and stuff like that. All sorts of different stuff.
That's cool.
Really good. Ever get blood on your drum kit? Or notice it later? Like, oh God.
Yeah, I've done that before. Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Necessary. Yeah.
But it's nothing like gas. It's usually like I cut my hand on like the friggin' light or something, like in something retarded. Yeah.
We interviewed Gene Hoglan last year, and he like was on the camera and he's pointing out all his blisters like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Love it. So we've had some favorite tracks from this one, although there are many, but I have to say Coffin Dweller was one of my favorites. It begins so eerily with that quick reverb picking guitar, and it just adds a sense of foreboding. Was that achieved like through downtone or pedals or both?
Yeah, but she's talking about the sound though.
Oh,
the actual, like the metal.
Oh yeah, I mean the guitar tone comes from the HM2 pedal, so we use that, the tried and true Swedish death guitar tone. You just crank the pedal all the way up to 10, and then make your adjustments as needed from the head or whatever. But basically the pedal is all the way up to 10. That's how they get that disgusting chainsaw tone, which is the best guitar tone on earth.
It is the best. Have you guys been playing out? Like, have you been touring under Exsanguination or playing locally, or like what's the live situation been for you guys?
We get around a bit. We like you said, we just played a festival in New York in September, but I'm trying to remember if we played since then.
We played a couple days before Halloween.
Oh yeah, we played a few days before Halloween in Rockland, right?
Yeah,
so we played up.
We played with Victor Crowley like a day before Halloween or whatever. Up in so that was cool. It's cool that they came out. All the way from Ohio.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy show.
Well, like a one-off.
Yeah, and just knowing the behind the scenes stuff, there was a lot of wild antics going on to get them out. Like it took a lot. Not the band, but unfortunately, some of our friends up here. The person putting the show together, it was a miracle that they got there okay and they played and they weren't pissed off. So it was a success then. Yeah, it went well.
Are there a decent amount of like metal clubs and bars up around Boston?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, a lot of the shows, we're from the South Shore, so like I feel I just get a vibe that there's sometimes more going on down here than there actually is in the city.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I feel we play like, I know you probably don't know these towns, but like Rockland, West Bridgewater, place at Hull, we play there more than actually going into the city, in my opinion. I've always felt like it's easier to get people out here because when you go into a big city, you're dealing with parking, or if people are taking trains and stuff. Like, I've always been a true believer. I'd rather do like I'll play a hall show in a quieter town. I just think that's easier to promote. That's just my opinion.
So it's more like the suburbs have the better places to play. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I feel it's more accommodating, and that's just my opinion. They might think, other people might think differently. I just think it's easier, you know, to get people out. It's more low key, where cities like for me, to me a city's just so congested and it's busy, and I'm like, oh, I want to go all the way up there. So for me, it's just personally, it's so much easier. There's a show next week that I'm not playing, but it's my friends are in it and they're running. It's no big deal for me to just go there. Yeah, I'll be there. It's thoughtless, but for me, like going into Boston's like a project. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So I definitely had questions about the Void. I love the story in it about the Grim Reaper stalks this guy and he actually comes back and wins and beats the shit out of the Grim Reaper. It almost seemed like a cancer survivor story. Where was that inspired from? I loved it. It should be a movie.
Here's how we do the lyrics. Justin comes up with the title and the theme, and then you tell me this is what I want it to be about. This is you don't even necessarily say is what I want it to be about, but this is the title, and I try to match it. Sometimes it's not. Those lyrics, all I could think of is, I mean, I've had like weird dreams when I was a kid of just like getting in fights with, I don't know, maybe monsters or something, and beating them up and winning. And that's all it was. I just had that kind of thing. I was just describing dreams I've had, which I haven't had in decades. But when I was a kid, I had a lot of odd dreams about beating people up, like monsters and stuff, but they're attacking me, and somehow I win the fight. And that's all that was. It was that simple. Kind of juvenile. But that was it.
It would make a great video.
Yeah. It would. I didn't think of that.
So for Kevin, the bass tones are really different there. What kind of bass do you use, and do you use any special effects?
Well, I used the same Fender P bass on both of the recordings, but really just Justin does a lot of the tweaking, and then the guy who mixes and masters our stuff is a bass player, so I put a lot of faith in him. But when we play, I use a big muff.
Do you ever consider to get bass when you play?
What was that?
Do you know what bass is?
No.
I only learned this term very recently from Erica Stoltz of Sanhedrin. But it's this thing where your jaw kind of drops and you get this look on your face while you're playing. He told me about the term. I was like, wow. And then we started thinking.
I've never noticed.
I don't think I get bass.
I know what she's talking about. I know you do.
Yeah,
you don't have.
What is the bass? Can you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. In School of Rock, he teaches the little girl to do it.
Well, I learned when I was in college, I learned how to play Red Barchetta just to make fun of this guy that made bass face. So I learned to play that song sarcastically just so I could make fun of him. I wanted to ask you, all right, so Chris Johnson from Deaf Haven, he's done some of your recording, mixing, mastering, according to Metal Archives. How did you come to work with him?
So I've known Chris Johnson for years, since he was like a teenager. So his cousin is Greg Weeks, who was in Beyond the Six Sailors in the Red Chord. So that's how I think I initially met him, like one way or another. And then since then, like he was always like the local sound guy at like a lot of like the bars in Boston. So like at O'Brien's, he would be the sound man. He would, do like that kind of stuff, like live sound. I think he's like a professional. He went to school for it and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then eventually we just started working with him. Like he's just great. Like I think the first time we recorded with him, we did it at God City, which is like Kurt Ballou's studio. And Kurt Ballou wasn't there, but Chris Johnson was engineered everything for us. But since then, like we've been I've been recording drums at my house, and he comes and sets everything up and like mics everything, and then he does like all the post production. So like he'll, we'll record drums, at my house. Justin will record guitars and bass and everything else, and Johnson does everything else. Like he just takes it and makes it sound good, because we're definitely like reasonably competent with that, but nowhere like near what he can do.
Kurt Bowler.
He's got to get you guys some of that Def Haven hipster money. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
The fuck, right?
He's like the last person to join Def Heaven. What's funny is like I remember I went to go to see Def Heaven play one time, and at the time Johnson was in the band, but he was like their roadie or something. And I think their bass player quits, and then he's an excellent bass player, so they hired him to play.
Yeah, they're like the most hated, loved metal band there is. Like just endless arguments on Metal Archives about them.
All right, so I had a question about one more track off this one, "The Pleasure to End All Pleasures." I love me a good serial killer song, but the part about where he finally gets it at the end and it's the guillotine, I was like, all right, this is a really old serial killer. Was it about anybody in particular?
Who was that about?
It was, and now it's escaping me.
It's escaping me.
Justin sent me the article of the guy.
Yeah,
he was in Germany, I think.
Oh, is it the Dusseldorf Ripper?
Yeah,
Dusseldorf. Yeah, because they still had the guillotine as execution method even in the 20th century, but he was like early 1920s, I think.
All that stuff even though unfortunately, like I probably, I'm not remembering his name, which takes credibility from what I'm about to say, but Justin sent me an article and I read the whole thing front to back and then wrote that. It was just reciting what I had read in the article about this guy's life. So then, I had to write all those lyrics. Like that thing was done. And it was like, okay, now I'm going to do the lyrics. I did all those lyrics for that whole album in probably like 3 days. So once I did one, like say that song, for example, that was it. On to the next one. So by the time I was writing the next set of lyrics, I'd already forgot who that guy was. I was ripping through those. And I had to, but then it took me like another week. The hard part was like matching everything up with the riffs, which that took a while. But the initial writing down, that I do it pretty quick. And then try to piece it together. That's, I guess, the harder part, figuring that out.
Yeah, I gave him that as a song title because that was like one of his last words before they guillotined him. He asked the executioner if once he got his head chopped off, like would he be able to look at his body and would he be able to experience that? And he told the executioner that would be the pleasure to end all pleasures.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a little.
If you look at
he's a little sick. So I was like, oh, that'd make a good song title.
If you look at our song Dominion on the first one, which was actually, like he said, it was from the demo. We combined them with new songs to create that first album.
Right.
There's I can't say the guy's name. It's I think it's in Bulgaria. Dietz von Schomburg. I sing it in the lyrics, but I don't know if I'm saying it right. That one is another one. That's a true story. The guy said, when you chop my head off, he'd been punished for something. I don't know if it was a revolution or what, because he had some other guys with him that they were all going to get executed for rebelling against the king or whatever. He said, after my head comes off, if I can run across this stage, you have to free the rest of these guys. Chop my head off first. This is a true story. And they chopped his head off. Apparently the guy ran across the stage headless, and they let all the other guys go free. Look in the lyrics and you look that guy's name up. It's people saw this happen, and that's where the lyrics came from for that song.
Like the true crime shows?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
It's like some of them, it's like, all right, the John Wayne Gacy, like, oh, that whole documentary on him, it was just horrible. And he just kept getting away with it and being like, oh yeah, I wasn't there. I didn't have anything to do with it. And the same time, he was constantly luring young people back to his home to work, and they'd disappear. And the cops were like, oh, we don't know.
Yeah.
The thing with John Wayne Gacy is he didn't get enough appreciation for his masonry skills, because everybody he killed, he lovingly covered with concrete and no one knew. I mean, he could have had a great concrete career. I mean, that's not easy to do, Never mind the murders.
So were they all in his basement?
Yeah, they're in his crawl space.
Yeah.
In his crawl space.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
That's another
we play
song
a
title.
game.
Yeah, you just came up with a song title. Thanks.
No, I
John
I
Wayne,
have that.
John
I
Wayne
had
the
that one. I
Mason.
had that one. Crawl
give me
space.
Okay. All right.
All right, so we play a game on the show. It's called Blaspheming Monikers. Okay, so I guess you guys can just take turns with this. I have 5 band names in front of me. Okay, and one of them is made up. Okay, so you guys have to guess which one I made up.
Okay.
This is extensive Metal Archives research. Okay. Okay. Number 1, Idiot Beast. Number 2, Feasting Beast. Number 3, Emerging Beast. Number 4, Jester Beast. And number 5, Sleepy Beast. Which one is not real?
Can I answer it?
Go ahead.
5.
Sleepy Beast?
Yeah, Sleepy Beast.
No, they're heavy metal from Mexico. They have one full length that just came out last year. So we can cross that one off.
Yeah, he would have heard of all these bands.
So again, we have Idiot
the-
Beast, Feasting Beast, Emerging Beast, and Jester Beast.
the first one. That's
Idiot
not real.
Beast?
Yeah.
They're real, and I can't believe they're real because who names their band Idiot
Idiot.
Beast?
My
They're from New Zealand. They're a sludge band. They have one EP from 2020.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Where are they from?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. They're Kiwis. Yeah.
I immediately thought it would be Emerging Beast because that's the only one that doesn't sound kind of silly. So that's kind of the trick. That would be the band that doesn't really exist.
No, they're real. They're from
You're real.
Hungary.
Okay.
And here's the
Alright,
funny
well,
part. Here's the funny part about them, right? So they're called Emerging Beast.
Yeah.
They only have one split. So they're not emerging at all.
I thought you were gonna say they only had one
They
song.
changed their name after
Yeah.
the-
So I'll tell you guys, it was actually Feasting Beast is the one I made up.
I was gonna guess that.
That doesn't exist. Jester Beast is a thrash band from Italy. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Who picks Idiot Beast as the name of the band? And all the other 4 guys go, yeah, that's great. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Idiot Beast.
Unbelievable. Anyway, so-
So I'd love to see you guys go on tour. If you could put yourself with a fantasy lineup, whether it be bands existing currently in the past, who would you put Exsanguination with
yeah.
to go out on tour?
Dismember.
Definitely Dismember.
Definitely Dismember. Yep.
Is there one more band we could throw in?
Yeah.
Pick 2 or 3.
How about Deceased?
Deceased.
Wow. We have a nice interview with King Foley on the show on our YouTube channel. Yeah. He's the real deal.
I'm doing like a documentary about him. You heard about this?
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
god, yeah.
there's a documentary on the band Riot, right? And he's in it. And like I was watching, then all of a sudden, if you watch, it's on YouTube. All of a sudden, he's defending like Rhett Forrester. He's like, he was the best singer for Riot. Where did King
What do you
Foley
know
come from?
about Riot singers.
I've actually seen probably the same one. I don't remember seeing him. I'm gonna have to rewatch that one now.
Yeah, he's in it big time. Yeah,
I must
he's a
not
big
have
Born in America fan. Yeah.
All right, what about
Okay.
Kevin? He didn't say anything.
I mean,
You know what Kev's gonna say.
yeah, I know you know what I'm gonna say.
It's all right. Say it.
Say it's okay.
I mean, if this is like Magic Tour, I want to open for Maiden.
Oh my
Right,
god.
right.
I
They'd
mean,
never
no one
let you
watches,
because-
no one wants to see us, but
You know they'd never let you
I can
because
watch them every night.
Steve Harris
What?
won't let anybody good open for Maiden. You know that. It's always got to be like his sister-in-law's band or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I've seen his daughter open for him once.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I have too.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. I saw them on Power Slave tour twice, and once was Twisted Sister, and the second was Accept, and they both were fantastic. But sometime in the '90s, he started just having shitty bands open for Maiden. I don't know what happened. Like maybe somebody blew him off the stage or something. I don't know.
Like Steel
Yeah.
Panther.
Halloween, maybe. I don't know.
Mm.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
now-
you go. There's the 4. That would be our tour right there.
I think I saw him.
Deceased,
in, like-
Iron Maiden, and Dismember, and us
Great,
somewhere
yeah.
in there.
That's a lineup. Yeah, I think I saw him in like 2010, and like Steel Panther opened up. I was like, "Fuck off, jeez." You
Wait,
know.
that was with Iron Maiden?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
we just came
Wow.
late.
Okay.
We just came late. We're just like, "Oh fuck, I'm not watching Steel Panther." Fuck off.
They when Iron Maiden played out here, and Ghost opened for them, and I mean, I could have cared less.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't. We were sitting kind of on the like not really in the main place where the show was, and I had friends that were really into them, and I wasn't hip to it. I'm
I'm
like, who?
surprised to even hear that. Ghost is they're a big band. I'm surprised he even had the guts to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
they played, and I didn't. I mean, not again, nothing. I got nothing against, and just because I'm not into a band doesn't mean I don't
Right, right.
have anything against it. I just didn't care, and they, I heard them, but I didn't go in or run in. And then after that, obviously, I got familiar with them because then I was, who's this band that I don't care about? So I looked them up and stuff. Yeah, that was Ghost when I saw them, and
Yeah.
I too did not. I'll tell you, I remember years ago,
It's like this man's trash.
the big one for me, I'll never forget. I saw Pantera, years and years and years ago, obviously, and it was either White Zombie or Rob Zombie was opening, and I'm like, I just sat in the parking lot. I'm like, I can't take that like machine process from the drum,
Right.
and I
remember Anal Cunt used to open for them.
Yeah.
I was at the show when they opened for Pantera.
I saw them Pantera, I think twice, and both times Anal Cunt.
Yeah. So, but on that night it was Rob Zombie or White Zombie or whoever, and yeah, same thing. I've done a lot of sitting outside during. I saw Marilyn Manson by accident once, and so
Really?
that they were playing Ozfest or something years ago, and I watched it. I was interested. I thought it was a piece of history, but again, it's that machine thing that those drums just sound so electronic to me. I can't get into it.
It's called industrial.
Yeah, industrial, whatever.
A tour for you guys. Ready? Castrator, skeletal remains, you guys, and exhumed. Boom. Send you guys out.
That's great.
All right.
That's a great line.
Yeah, that would work.
When are you gonna book it?
Yeah, let us know when the dates are. We'll be there.
I know, right?
Remember Zoom used to have that guy in the band that would throw up all over the stage? Remember that back in the day? What was that guy's name? Is he still around? The bass player used to like throw up. He used to bring the
which band? Which band are we talking about?
Exhumed. They would come out.
Well, they have this doctor,
Dr. Filthy.
And he
runs around
like
with a chainsaw.
He's like in a surgeon's mask, and he runs around with a chainsaw that has
I've never seen that.
Out of it. Yeah, that I've seen. I haven't seen the guy throwing up, but actually, when we interviewed Matt, he was telling us that like they went to Mexico for a tour, and his bullet belt, because that caliber is not okay in Mexico, and the chainsaw, like the Mexican authorities, like at customs, were like, "You're going to jail."
He was like, no, it's part of the band. It's it's
they don't want to hear about that down there. Yeah. So chainsaws and bullet belts don't go well through Mexican customs. Boy, there's an album title for you right there.
Yeah.
Or an autobiography.
Or an autobiography.
That sounds like an AC title.
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't no trick.
And Matt had a lot of good stories. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I hope you guys do get out on tour so we can come see you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or maybe at Maryland Death Fest.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. We did just play New York City in September. Where even one-off shows, your area, if someone has something and wants to talk to us, we're open to anything. I mean, people here, we get jobs and lots of stuff going on in life, but we're not our door's not shut to anything. So even if it's not a tour, whatever the situation, putting the word out for those who see us. We do get around. So as long as we can schedule it in, get in touch with us, see what we can do. We'd love to meet you guys in person, and you can give us song titles.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So one final question, completely not metal related. The Ben Affleck movies, Gone Baby Gone, and The Town. Does he get it right with how it really is living in Mass, or is it all? Did you watch those movies and go fuck off? Like,
I've got a strong opinion about that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of any of that.
If we're all going to agree on that.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I don't think it. I think putting that persona out doesn't really help anybody around here. So that's just my opinion. And I don't know what. And a lot of those guys, you'll notice, don't live here anymore. They love it. They love it here. And as soon as they get some money, they go to California. So I don't know what that's all about. So, but that's just my opinion.
I do want to say something about movie accuracy in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Thanksgiving yet?
Not yet.
No.
Oh no, not yet.
It just came out.
Well, if you see it, they talk about Hanover South. It's not a real place. I grew up in Hanover. It's just Hanover. There's no South.
Yeah.
They have this rival football team,
Wow.
Hanover South. I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
It takes place in Plymouth, apparently, right?
Yeah,
Kevin
yeah.
does it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
So yeah, so
I had to ask you guys because like Hollywood will do their impersonation of Baltimore, and I'm like, what the hell? This is wrong.
Yeah, what about The Wire? Tell us about that.
What did you
All
say?
right, or homicide, life on the street. You know, it isn't really that bad. You know.
Yeah, I
was
work
a
in
great
Baltimore
show.
City. We both work in Baltimore City every day, and we're not caught in drug deal crossfires every Wednesday.
I've been down there. It's people are nice. I've had no problems in that area.
Yeah.
So they're all good. Right
You know,
next to I remember you always kind of near Washington D.C. when I drive through there. It was very
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
So, you know, it's
Yeah.
not like all that and a lot of, unless you're like on the block, you know, and then what else would you expect, right?
Right. Well,
Yeah. Trouble will find you if you look for it. I'm a strong
Absolutely,
believer in
yeah.
that.
You gotta, you gotta be smart about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The sounds of decay!
Sounds of Decay 1 is Flusterars, The Chronicles of the Disappeared Castle 2 EP. The long-running duo of Bob Malema and Mink Coops. What a great name. Are you sure they're Dutch? Anyway, they've returned, trying their hand at the increasingly popular technique of feed the algorithm two-part EP type release. The name of the band translates to Whisperers, and the title of the project translates to The Chronicles of the Disappeared Castle. This one is a little fruitier than the Part 1 EP, a disc that I found appealing. It came out earlier this year. It had kind of an aggressive, hypnotic burzumness to it and some cool mangle it, strangle it guitar experiments. But don't go thinking that the pair have dulled their fangs for this installment. There's plenty of reverb-soaked slit-throat gargles from Malema. But the addition of pianos, dulcimers, along with some female vocals give the second release more of a Wolves in the Throne Room kind of flavor.
The first song, translated to The Moon, Son of the Dead, is a great combination of the atmospheric style with female vocals and old school black metal shrieks, and love the trance-inducing doom-paced slowdown in the second half. The guitars like to ramble between jangly, Atmos black picking, and tritony tremolo oscillations. Track 2, the mystique surrounding the Hammerstone, does also move out of the jangly atmospherics into some 1991 style riff changes. Some great majestic, almost orchestral melodies close out the song. It is an interesting take on a familiar sound with lots of variety in tempo and instrumental experimentation. They must be doing well for themselves, as it seems. Every stick of merchandise has sold out of their Bandcamp page.
Yep.
So those Flustenars oven mitts you were eyeing won't be under your satanic Yule tree this year. At any rate,
No curses.
consider the algorithm fed. Burp.
Yeah. So let's play a song. This is the mystique surrounding the Hammerstone. Hammer time. Sorry. Okay, Sounds of Decay 2 is Zoth, Exogalactic. The silvery wizards of melodic shred that are Zoth are back. I imagine them descending from the shadowy clouds of Mount Rainier, staff in one hand, guitar in the other. This Seattle four-piece returns with their third full-length Exogalactic, a dazzling offering of their Prague-speckled technical death metal. The musicianship is full, bright, and big here, a veritable metal space opera.
Reptilian Bloodsport kicks things off in a grand fashion. The guitars come in veritably singing their own infectious melody. The blast beats of Jeremy Salvo that occasionally erupt into rolls and muted rim clonks keep the pace to the left of hectic but just inside chaotic. The dueling guitar work of Tyler Splurgis and Woody Adler are epic, creating a buzz as they ornately interplay. The vocals are clipped and rough as a gnarled tree bark, but full of storytelling conviction. The tale is spun of humans captured by the even reptilian aliens that create entertainment by forcing them into battle and scenes right out of the movie Gladiator. Reptilian Hand, thumb points down into the arena upon the blood-soaked ground. There is a pause for a few seconds as Stranger Things synthesizer plays alone before releasing the throttle once more.
Sporecraft Zero sprinkles us with those fungi spores in the form of supersonic carpet ride drums, blast beat over complex, double-handed dueling melodic guitars that sometimes settle into a groovy chugs and at other times break into solos that would not be out of place on a power metal album. These guys literally have riffs for days. Bassist Ben Bennett throbs along, adding depth to the percussion as Tyler snarls, ingest, inhale, penetrating spores, portals open in your soul, cosmic fungi takes control, making me think a little bit of The Last of Us. Good show.
In Saga of the Blade, the guitars riff off each other over the persistent blast beats for nearly a minute before the vocals slap in. They vary things up in every track, this one sporting a chuggy breakdown in the middle, massaging our cochlear nerves with guitar work that plucks and soars, compelling me to want to both headbang and hip swish all at once.
Every song rips, trips, thrashes, and pummels along. Prepare for the invasion of these 8 tracks that rip by in a flash. This trip to otherworldly tales of horror outside the galaxy by the celestial architects of their craft is a must-hear for lovers of technical death metal and melodic prog alike. So let's play a song.
This is Saga of the Blade.
Okay, Sounds of Decay 3, our final review of 2023. And this one was like number 11 for me, of course, right? Malo Carpatin, Vertumnus Caesar. Another quality disc making a top 10 for 2023, even more difficult to compile. It comes from Slovakian black metalers Malo Carpatin, the band's 4th full length since their inception in 2014. 8 epic songs at the perfect running time of 46 minutes. This one shows they've honed their distinctive swirl of blackened classic heavy metal and Slovakian folklore into a lethal edge. Plus, they're not afraid to don the occasional cape or puffy shirt for a photo session. It's all about the details, folks. All lyrics are crafted in their native tongue, delivered by the always guttural bark of prolific multi-instrumentalist HV, aka Vladimir Morovic. The sleeve notes reveal a veritable arsenal of instruments on the record, from mellotron to tubular bells to a small but potent glockenspiel. Sorry, a little bit of Jethro Tull humor there. Check out their live album for that one. Anyway, there's also a stylophone and melody harp. I'm not even sure what that is, but one can only conclude that all these impressive instruments are a key reason as to the track-to-track variety that is so remarkable on this record.
The 4th track translates into Inside the Soothing Sanctuary of the Kunstkammeru and is a dreamy gallop nugget on a new wave of British heavy metal AOR riff that sounds great against Vladimir's rough vocals. Around the 2-minute mark, it begins one of those several tempo changes that include a mellotron exploration. The band has a flair for synth and organ lines, acting as a bed for dramatic guitar solos, and this track is a splendid example. How can anyone doubt a song that translates into the domain of salamanders in the caverns of the earth? Especially considering the gorgeous synth lines that recall Deep Purple circa 1972, and that is never a bad thing. Plus, now do I not need to read National Geographic at all? It's music with a handcrafted artisan flair to it. The final track may be the strongest of all, nearly 10 minutes of epic metal in the vein of Prime Merciful Fate.
I used to love going to the Kunstkammerroom. I got kicked out because I made a joke about their eggplant parmesan. She never got over it. No. There's a lot to translate with Vertumnus Caesar, both musically and lyrically, but it's an exotic metal gem well worth the effort. Recommended for connoisseurs that break out the 4th Aria album after a few drinks. Let's play a song, our last song of the year, which is
Mahara Agala.
What was your favorite live show of the year? Performance.
It was so tough. We saw so many good shows. One of the ones where every band was freaking fantastic, although there were actually there. Okay, so I had 2. Was when we saw Castrator, Escuela Grind, And Exhumed was the headliner on that one.
That's
And
great.
wow, yeah, they were all really, really tight. Of course, Hell in the Harbor was great. So much scene there, although sometimes we had to cut one set short to try to see someone else as well. But
It was interesting watching Scott Hall from Pig Destroyer just stumbling around with a whiskey bottle in his hand. That's one of my takeaways from Hell in the Harbor.
seeing Deceased and vomit for us there was some of my favorite memories from Hell in the Harbor.
King Foley says stuff like, "This song goes back to when I had hair." It's hilarious.
And then I really did like, our more recent foray when we went to see Stabbing and Skeletal Remains, and that was an amazing show.
Wolves in the Throne Room.
The
Completely.
Wolves in the Throne
They
were
they
so
won
good.
me over. They won me over big time. Yeah. So
It was and Immolation. Wow. Oh, God, we saw so much this year.
anyway, it's been a great year. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. We got a lot on tap for you for 2024. We're very excited about it. So we will see you in the new year. This has been the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast. Special thanks to the guys in Exsanguination for appearing on the show. Snaggletooth theme by Gustav Eward of Defleshed. Sounds of Decay theme by Steve Rathbone of Lair of the Minotaur. Season 3 artwork by KC Angel. Decay bands, check them out. Flusserars, Zoth, Malocarpatin. All content 2023, the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast.
We wish you a happy new year, and I hope all your pours this year are holiday pours.
Don't get behind the wheel of a steamroller.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.